Okay, let's dive straight into this explainer and launch a real forensic investigation into a massive digital claim. Today, we're going to look closely at what actually constitutes true, undeniable proof in an era that is completely dominated by AI.
Right out of the gate, we are confronted with this staggering number, 55.5 million. In a recent proof of process mission, which they called Beyond the Polar Wall, researchers generated exactly 55.5 million tokens of something they refer to as metabolic flux. Now think of this as the digital sweat of the operation. We're talking about a massive, undeniable volume of AI inferences, verifiable server computations, and intense human steering, all happening at the very edges of the network. It's literally a digital monument to human effort.
But that brings us to the absolute crux of our investigation today. In a world swarming with automated bots, hallucinated data, and synthetic generation, how do we know this monumental physical effort wasn't entirely spoofed? Seriously, how do we prove a human was actually at the wheel, burning real physical calories to steer this outcome?
Section 1. Rejecting the FPU Gambler.
To solve this mystery, we first have to understand a fundamental flaw in modern computing hardware, and here is the crucial contrast. Most modern computation, especially AI, relies on the floating point unit, or what's called the FPU Gambler. It relies heavily on probabilistic guessing and messy decimal approximations just to handle complex math. Over time, those tiny little errors compound into a thick fog of automated miasma. So to build an unspoofable proof, we absolutely have to reject the gambler. Instead, we have to rely on the ALU surveyor, the arithmetic logic unit. The ALU deals in absolute, verifiable hardware determinism. It doesn't guess, it knows. 1 + 1 equals exactly 2 every single time, providing undeniable, bit-perfect truth.
Section 2. Bit-perfect deterministic logic. Now let's examine the actual DNA of our unspoofable proof and see exactly how it leverages this underlying hardware truth. The researchers achieved this absolute certainty using a first principles algebraic framework called side normalization. Traditional systems map data using complex curves and trigonometry, which creates this massive trig wall that basically forces the computer to guess and approximate. Side normalization completely shatters that wall. By anchoring the coordinate system so that side A always equals 1, it magically turns messy, irrational curves into straight, exact mathematical lines. Suddenly, there is absolutely zero room for an AI to guess or hallucinate.
Instead of using those messy decimals, they map this logic directly into a rigid 64-bit space using pure integer geometry. By relying on discrete rational lattices and aligning the math with perfectly known integer sequences, specifically OEIS sequences, they created what's called a 16-phase forensic spoke lattice. Just think of it as a perfect geometric grid, where every single data point gets an exact, permanent home. This creates bit-perfect data, and AI simply cannot guess its way through this. It's either mathematically flawless or the whole system completely breaks.
And get this, there is a brilliant side effect to all of this: wild efficiency. Because this pure integer math entirely bypasses the heavy, guessing game trigonometry, the metabolic energy needed for computation drops down to an astonishing 0.05 picojoules per operation. That's a 74 times reduction compared to legacy systems. Section 3. The We-Do Reproducibility Protocol.
Okay, so with the mathematical logic confirmed as flawless and perfectly deterministic, we now need to inspect the alibi, the actual cryptographic receipt proving that a human spent the digital sweat to organize this math. The hard evidence for this effort lies within a sovereign command line interface called the MetaJIT terminal. During that Beyond the Polar Wall mission, a human pilot had to execute exactly 66 precise technical strikes. These were surgical, highly intentional interventions required to steer the AI swarm's exact state and land it safely on what they call the forensic floor. That terminal is capturing exact human cognitive friction.
And here's where it gets ironclad. Every single one of those 66 precise technical strikes is immutably logged into a WeDo manifest. It's a bit-perfect JSON file that meticulously documents every reasoning tree audit and inter-window coordination pulse. This manifest serves as the generative DNA of the entire research process. It creates an autonomously reconstructible audit trail of human intent that literally cannot be faked.
To secure this manifest cryptographically, it's organized into a Merkle tree, which is a mathematically rigorous way to handle arbitrarily large datasets. The system then calculates a fixed string of data called a Merkle root. Finally, this root is permanently anchored on-chain. It functions exactly like an ancient tamper-proof clay seal used for ledgers in antiquity, but executed with absolute, verifiable digital certainty.
To keep this anchored state perfectly stable, the system uses a LIFO ledger. Last in, first out. Honestly, think of this ledger as an incredibly ruthless bouncer at the door of your database. It only ever checks index 0, the very front of the line, to get the absolute mathematical state of the system. If it finds any conflicting data at all, it violently rejects the input. This uncompromising elegance ensures flawless single-entry bookkeeping every single time.
Section 4. The ultimate unspoofable proof.
So let's assemble all these forensic clues together and deliver the final verdict on this 55.5 million token monument. The core argument from the creators is undeniable. The final output is judged entirely on its own mathematical merits. Think about it. You simply cannot spoof a working, highly complex mathematical proof. Because of that bit-perfect deterministic logic, the side of normalization, and those exact OESI's alignments we talked about, any attempt by an AI to hallucinate this integer geometry would instantly fail the ALU strict hardware determinism. Add in the WeDo reproducibility protocol and the verifiable Merkle tree audit trail, and you have the ultimate immutable receipt of effort. The very existence and strict reproducibility of this proof perfectly validate the metabolic flux and the physical calories burned to create it.
The architecture documents summarize this whole paradigm shift brilliantly with a simple quote: "Manual authorship overrides automated miasma." True creation requires the physical effort of a human pilot to actively steer the machine. They refer to this as the semiotic bridge. The human applies their specific, deliberate creative intent, and the deterministic machine executes the computational sweat to lock that truth in perfectly.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought. We've successfully traced a path from the chaotic guesswork of standard computing to a bit-perfect, unspoofable record of human effort. Now that we have the mathematical and cryptographic power to definitively verify the exact state of our digital reality, what immutable monuments will we build next? Keep questioning the systems around you, and I'll catch you next time.